Hi there and welcome to our biology video on the cell structure. In this video we will be going over plant cells, animal cells, bacteria cells, prokaryotes and eukaryotes, the properties of those types of cells and some exam questions. So let's start off with plant cells. Plant cells have the cytoplasm, the nucleus, the cell membrane, the mitochondria, ribosomes, chloroplasts, cell wall, and vacuole. In this image here, you can see them all labeled. So what does the cytoplasm do? So basically is a jelly-like material that contains dissolved nutrients and salts and structures called organelles. It is where many of the chemical reactions happen. So the main thing to take from it is that it contains dissolved nutrients, and it's where most chemical reactions happen. The nucleus is it contains the genetic material and controls the cell. So it controls the cell. The cell membranes controls what comes in the cell and what goes out. Goes out. The mitochondria is where respiration happens and most energy is released. So respiration plus energy. Ribosomes is where protein synthesis occurs. So where the proteins are stored. Chloroplasts are where the green pigment is, and it's with chlorophyll. It absorbs light for photosynthesis and it contains the enzymes for photosynthesis. So it's basically the place where photosynthesis happens. The cell wall is made from cellulose fibers and strengthens the cell and supports the plant. So it supports the plant. Supports the plant. The vacuole is filled with cell sap to keep the cell turgid. So keeps the cell turgid. Okay, so we've looked at what plant cells include and what the function is of some of the organelles. So let's go to animal cells. So it contains most of the same things: cytoplasm, nucleus, cell membrane, mitochondria, and ribosomes. But if I go back to the previous slide, you can tell that it doesn't contain chloroplast, cell wall, or a vacuole. And here's an image of an animal cell. But bacteria cells are a bit different. They contain a chromosomal DNA, a plasmid DNA, a flagella, a cell wall, a cell membrane, and a cytoplasm. So these three things are in plant cells as well, but these three things are new. These three things are not in plant cells or animal cells. So a chromosomal DNA is the DNA of bacteria cells. It is found loose in the cytoplasm, so there's nothing to hold it, and it's called chromosomal DNA, and it's not contained within a nucleus. So this this is This is basically the DNA of the cell, but there's nothing to hold it. So DNA there. Plasmid DNA um, is in the cytoplasm, and plasmid DNA can move from one bacterium to another, giving variation. So it's a type of DNA as well. A flagella is it's a thing that can rotate or move the bacterium, so it helps with movement. So this, it looks like a tail over here. This is the flagella. The cell wall provides a structure and protection. Structure and protection. The cell membrane, it again controls what comes in and what goes out. And the cytoplasm, again, same like the plant cells, it is a jelly-like material, and it contains all the dissolved salts and structures called organelles, and it's where chemical reactions happen. So now we've looked up plant cells, animal cells, and bacteria cells. Let's have a look at prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So prokaryotic cells can be defined as those cells which do not have a defined nucleus. An example of a prokaryotic cell includes a single-celled organisms like bacteria. So basically, prokaryotes are cells that don't have a defined nucleus, and eukaryote cells have a nucleus. So if I was to give an example of prokaryotes, it's written here, bacteria cells are prokaryotes, and if I was to give two examples of eukaryotes, it would be plant cells and animal cells, as they both contain a defined nucleus. Let's have a look at the properties of prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So the size of a eukaryotic cell, so this one over here, ranges from 5 micrometers to 10 micrometers. Micrometers is how we measure cells in the units we measure cells. Prokaryotic cells are measured from 0.2 micrometers to 2.0 micrometers. And there's a type of cell division in that is different between these two types of cells. Prokaryotes divide by binary fission, and eukaryotes divide by mitosis. So binary fission and eukaryotes divide by mitosis. So a fact that you might want to know, bacteria cells, which are prokaryotes, can divide in a minimum of 20 minutes. So they can produce lots of bacteria, and something that strengthens them if they're in the right temperature and they're given the right nutrients. And eukaryotes, such as plant cells and animal cells, divide by mitosis, and they replace damaged cells, or if they need extra cells. Okay, so let's move on and have a look at our first exam question. Living organisms are made of cells. Animal and plant cells have several pods. Each pod has a different function. Draw one line from each cell pod to the correct function of the pod. So this is the cell pod and this is the function, and it's worth 3 marks. The cell membrane, what is that? Well, we know that it controls what comes in and what goes out of the cell, so we know it's this one, so we can just match it up. And the mitochondria is releases the most energy and it's used in respiration. So we know that goes there. The nucleus controls the cell. So there's our 3 marks. This option over here where proteins are made, though that would be ribosomes, because that's where protein synthesis occurs. So let's move on. The diagram shows a cell from a plant leaf. Which 2 parts in the diagram above are not found in an animal cell? So that's just, we've looked at it. We've looked at plant cells and animal cells. So over here we can see the cytoplasm, the cell membrane, the cell wall, the chloroplasts, and the nucleus. Which of the parts are not found in an animal cell? We know that there's no cell wall, and there are no chloroplasts, and there are 2 marks just for that. So next question. The diagram shows an animal cell and a bacterial cell. Structures A and B, so A and B, are found in both the animal cell and the bacterial cell. Use words from the box to name structures A and B. So A, remember, it's showing the inside. You can see that it's showing this part and this part, so the inside of it. So what do both bacterial cells and animal cells have? Well, I'm going to skip back to one of our previous slides. Animal cells, as you can see, they contain cytoplasm, and bacterial cells, they also contain a cytoplasm. So if we go back to this question, we know that for sure that part A is inside the cell and it contains a cytoplasm. Structure B is not pointing inside the cell. You can see it's on the outside, and there's a cell membrane, and over here can you see 2 structures, and an animal cell only has a cell membrane. So we know that it's going to be cell membrane. And that gives us 2 marks. Next question. Both cells contain genetic material. So in this case, it's going to be a plant cell and an animal cell. Let's say it's a plant cell and an animal cell. This question. Name the structure in the animal cell that contains the genetic material. So that should be an easy 1 marker, the nucleus. And that gives you your 1 mark. Last question. List A gives 3 structures found in animal cells. List B gives 4 functions of cell structures. Draw 1 line from each structure in list A to its correct function in list B. So this is list A over here, the structure, and this is list B, the function. So cell membrane, what does it do? It controls what enters the cell over here. The mitochondria is where respiration happens and the most energy is released, and ribosomes are where protein synthesis happens. But if you were to add another option here, that gives us our 3 marks. But where does photosynthesis happens? Well, it happens in chloroplasts. And why does it happen in chloroplasts? Is because chloroplasts contain chlorophyll, which are essential for photosynthesis, as sunlight is necessary. And to help with photosynthesis, they have palisade cells, which also contain loads of chloroplasts and which contain loads of chlorophyll. So if you were to join an option, it would be chloroplast to photosynthesis. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked it. And one last thing, please subscribe.